All right. Well, that's probably long enough. The first few minutes are just me having a bit of a chat anyway, so they won't miss anything too important for the latecomers. So as I said, I'm Justin. I work on the Gold Coast in Australia. I work at the Institute for Evidence-Based Healthcare at Bond University. Tiny bit of background about myself and a little bit about the workshop, webinar, I should say, and then we'll get into it. So I am was a health librarian by background. And now moved into research where I focus primarily on doing systematic reviews. Many years ago now, we started our automation tools program where we started to develop automation tools to help ourselves primarily, but then other people as well do systematic reviews faster. That's been going for 9 years now. And this year, a couple of months ago, May this year, we released our new platform called the Evidence Review Accelerator, which we'll be looking at. I know our tools have been around for a while, and I know a lot of people have used them in the past. So our old platform was the Systematic Review Accelerator. All the tools that were in there have been migrated over and are in the new platform, but there's a lot of new things to talk about as well. Now, this is only scheduled for 1 hour, so I won't actually be stopping and breaking and taking questions or comments through the webinar. There's a lot to get through, and I've run it a few times and we tend to finish really right on the hour. But I always hang around and answer any questions afterwards. So if you have a question as we're going, please put it into the chat as you think of your question. Because if you're anything like me, I start daydreaming about funny cat videos and whatever question I was going to ask gets lost. So please don't wait until the end to ask any questions that you've got. If you want to hang around afterwards, put them into the chat. And then at about 8 a.m. Gold Coast time when we finish, I'll then hang around and I'll answer all the questions that are in the chat. And then if other people want to hang around and ask questions, I'm also happy to answer any questions afterwards. So I always like to point out I'm the last person to log off. So if you want to hang around, ask questions about the tools or about anything, about how cold it is in Australia right now, even, that's fine. Feel free to hang around. Normally I'm around for an extra 15, 20 minutes, just answering questions and talking to people. But it's not compulsory, of course, but I think that's about it. This webinar does get recorded. We do put these webinars up online. There's an older one that's up at the moment, but this webinar does get recorded and it does get sent to everyone who attends. So if you miss something, you can come back and hopefully watch it later. Oh, morning, Cicely. Good to see you on. So most of it is me sharing screen. Most of it is me demoing the tools live, which still makes me a bit nervous, despite the fact it's all been working perfectly for a long time now. But I guess that's what I'll start doing. So today's session is all about all the tools that we have available. I'll talk through them all, demo them all. I'll go very fast though. There's a lot of tools now that we have available to help people. And 1 hour is not enough time to go into any tool in great depth. So I'm just going to touch on each tool, talk about it a little bit, and move on to the next. We do run, every now and then, we run bigger, longer workshops where we do focus a lot on the tools. But this one is just a brief overview of everything, just to give you a feel for the platform and to give you a feel for what each of the tool, where each of the tool helps in the systematic review process and how each tool can help. Before I get started though, I don't work alone. I don't build all of these tools, although I help build most of them. I have 4 fantastic computer scientist partners who are part of the team, who do most of the actual hard work of coding and turning ideas into functional tools, which of course, taking an idea and making it functional, that's the really hard bit. So Matt Carter, who I've been working with for many, many years now, and Connor, who's been with us for quite a while too. He's now our Gen AI expert. So when I talk about our Gen AI tool a little later, that's Connor's work. Tian's been around for quite a while now too. She does well. does a lot actually, and Irene's joined us fairly recently, very talented and does a lot of the heavy lifting as well, refining and testing and improving the tools. So those four never get enough credit. So I always just like to highlight those four and make sure they get the credit they very much deserve. So to do a systematic review or any type of evidence synthesis, there's 6 different things you need to do, 6 basic tasks you need to do. One is you need to write or design the protocol of your review. You then need to find some studies, generally by searching some databases. Select those studies, so that's manual screening or screening process where you go through the search results manually and have a look through. Extract and assess the study data. That's, well, basically where you find the full text, pull out the data, and you do risk of bias or some other assessment on it. Synthesize it either by meta-analysis or narratively, and then write the review. That's where you write it. So they're the 6 steps you need to do. We have tools to help with all of them in some way, shape, or form, except we don't do risk of bias yet, although we're going to start working on a risk of bias tool shortly. This is a great big long list and overview of everything you need to do. I won't go through it because this is actually built into the tool itself, but there's a lot of smaller tasks that you need to do to complete a review. So this is the Evidence Review Accelerator. The URL is there, tera-tools.com. That's about it, really. We're about to look at it live, so I won't go into it too much more. But just before I start demoing everything, this is always a really, really important note that other tool developers don't always pay attention to. But these tools do not replace the need to have skilled people who know what they're doing on your team. Of course, a systematic review team can have new people, people who don't know what they're doing, people who are upskilling, but these tools don't, and these tools can help them, but you still need people on your review who know what they're doing. These tools do not replace skills and skilled people. They just allow skilled people to use their skills in a more efficient manner. So that's the important take-home note. Don't expect these tools. They're not magic. You know, they're not going to write everything. Well, they'll write quite a bit for you, but they're not going to write everything for you. They're not going to create a good search for you. They're going to help you create a good search. They're going to help you screen a bit faster, but they're not going to actually do any of the really important hard thinking work for you. There's a lot more slides. I won't go through them. So this is TERA Live, front page, home page. I guess maybe you saw the webinars here, but we kind of put up information here if there's anything going on. So TERA is a free or freemium platform. So that means that there's a free version of TERA and a subscription version of TERA. If you're using the free platform, it's fine. You have most of the normal functionality that you have with the subscription. There's 2 things though that if you subscribe you get above the free version. So if you're using the free version, you can create one project and run one project at a time. If you want to create a new project, you need to delete your old project. If you subscribe, you can create as many projects as you like. So you can create 10, 20, 30, 50 projects if you want, if you subscribe. If you got the free version though, you can join as many projects as you want. So there's no difference. So using the free, if someone else creates a review, you can join 20 reviews that other people create with the free one or the subscription one. There's no difference in that. Also, the free version, you can screen 1,000 articles a month in our Gen AI screening tool. If you subscribe, you can screen 10,000 a month. So that's it. They're the only 3 well, they're not differences. They're the 3 benefits, or the 2 benefits you really get if you subscribe is you can create multiple projects and you can use our Mecha Screener or Gen AI Screener to screen a lot more articles. To get started, I guess you create an account and you log in. I have already done that this morning. So I'm going to go to my projects. So I have quite a few that I do. Obviously, I'm subscribed. If you're not subscribed, you'll see a big subscribe button here. Once you subscribe, that button disappears. To get going, you need to create a project. So you can't do anything without a project first. So everything, all the tools function and interact with files. Those files are stored via a project. So the first thing you always need to do is create a new project if you don't have one. So I'll do that. So hit create. You put in the project name. Generally, it's a good idea to make that the name of the project that you're working on. I end up with a lot of these, so I tend to tell myself to remember to delete them. Then you need to select your project type. We actually support more than just systematic reviews. So we're starting to move towards supporting clinical audit studies. So these are studies done in hospitals, normally by doctors there who look at some clinical factor going on in the hospital and do an analysis of it. If you click that and hit create, what it will do is it will switch out all of the systematic review tools and put in the clinical audit tools. So as I say, we've just started. We're in the process now of building a clinical audit protocol design writing tool. So this one tool is currently all we have. If you want to do a randomized trial, again, you can select randomized trial. That will then switch out the other tools and we'll switch in the randomized trial tools. We've only got a couple again. We do have a pretty good protocol writer. So, and I'll talk about the wizards and the protocol writers when we get to systematic reviews, but they're all very similar. There is a structured template to help you design and write your study. We've got a tool to help you do some stats, and we've got a tool to help you report your intervention. We support scoping reviews. So we have the scoping review protocol writer if you're doing a scoping review, and a lot of the tools are common between systematic reviews and scoping reviews. And then you've got a systematic review. So they're the 4 project types that we really support. There's quite a few others you'll see in here. We plan on supporting these eventually, but not yet. So that's it for projects. Project files. So here is where you store all your files. So if you want to interact with any of the tools, you need a file to do that first. So you can store any file type you like here. You can put up PDFs, you can put up Excel spreadsheets, you can put up Word documents, you can store anything you like, but in order to interact with the tools, you'll need to upload some references primarily. Generally, we now support file uploading of almost any file type, all the file types I'm aware of. So this one I'm about to upload, this is an EndNote XML file. So this is a bunch of references I had in EndNote that I exported from EndNote as an XML file. But you can also upload text files if they're formatted properly, RIS files, NBIB files, so they're the download files from PubMed, .cgi files, which are the OVID export files as well. We probably support a couple of others. So you can upload pretty much anything that you get references from. So when you upload it, it'll process it. If it's just a file like a PDF, it'll just store it. If it's got references in it, like this one does, it will process it and it will show you that there's 10 references in here. If you click on it, it will show you the references. And then you can also interact and by clicking on it, edit and change and modify the references. So that's it for project files. There's a project history. So as you work through and do stuff, it will actually track and tell you everything that you've done, which could be of interest to some people. And then we've actually also got a list of all the different tools available, although we'll probably remove this as we're not too sure of the benefits. So that's it for uploading using files, but I'll be doing a bit more of all of that later. So then we'll come down to the first tool, which is the review wizard. So the review wizard is a structured protocol writer. So the review wizard asks you, well, gives you a bunch of questions. You fill out the answers. It will then write your methods section for you based upon how you answered the questions. So to get started, you need a title. It will automatically normally just use the title of your project. I might call this one phototherapy. You can put in a short title. I might just use acne. And if you're really brave, I'm going to publish mine next year. Oh, oh yeah. I forgot to make a note that we need to fix that up. It doesn't store the years, but that's all right. I'm going to move to people. In order to actually assign people tasks, you need to put people in. So I'll add myself. Oh, uh, sorry, that's odd. If you hit the plus button, it should then add more people in. I'll have to check that. So I'm going to then come down to the review plan. So the review plan is just a long list of all of the different things that you need to do a review. You can download this as an Excel spreadsheet by hitting this button. But basically, it just guides you through all of the different steps that you need to do in a systematic review. You can make notes of what's going on. People can be assigned. And the thing I like most is that as each task is completed, you can tick the completed box. So it's just a good way of tracking what's going on with your review. We then have an introduction section. So the introduction section is blank, and we don't help you write this at all. I mean, we've given you a few instructions here about what an introduction or a background section to a systematic review should look like, but we don't do any writing. So you copy and paste your own introduction in here. We've also given you an example from our blue light therapy for acne review we did a few years ago. The questions really start here at the PCOST section. So here you put in the PICO of your review. So you might put in population, intervention, phototherapy, I think for this one, comparator, generally as usual care in most reviews, and then the one outcome might be acne reduction, and then we're just looking in the community, and we just want to, let me see, is there any, no, we'll just use randomized trials eventually. Similar with the search strategy. So normally these are selectable. I did test it last night and it was working fine. Sorry. But generally the idea is you go down and you select each of these different options. I'll move to one now that this is an old one that I've done. So this one here, I've filled out a lot more and I've gone a bit more effort with it. So you just go down and you just select who's doing what, how you're doing it, any of the different searches, so any of the databases you might be using. You can put in your search strategies as well. Who's doing study screening, which tools you might have used, any data that you're going to extract. So we always recommend trying to fill this out with as much information as you can. How you're going to assess risk of bias and who's going to do it. Measurement of effect. So really all the questions you might be asked about a systematic review. So you go through, are you going to contact study sponsors or other people? How you'll measure heterogeneity, publication bias, subgroup analysis, study information, where you might be registering it. You can also add in the contributions of each author. So this is generally pretty annoying to have to do right at the end, which I always forget to keep track of. So this is the list of all the different contributions, and we now have switched it and used the credit system to do this, which is, I think, the most common one that everyone seems to be using these days. And then if you have an acknowledgement, so here we put Matt Carter helping us out, and Matt helped with the stats and provided feedback on a draft of the manuscript. So when you're done, you come down to the method section and you hit generate output. And what this does is it takes those answers you put in and it just writes sentences around it. So these sentences are not written by computers or generative AI. There's no AI yet in this tool. We've written every single sentence that the method review wizard uses. So if you hit rewrite down the bottom, it will rewrite it a bit. So we've written ourselves normally it's about 4 sentences per outcome or input that you can put in. So this gives it a bit of a random feel, so they're not all identical, but we've written every sentence, generally by taking them either from our own published reviews and modifying them a little bit. So there's no AI that can make mistakes. If there's any mistakes, that was made by humans who should know better. So that's it. So when you're ready, you copy this to your clipboard, paste it into a Word document, and this then is your structured method section to help with your protocol. Now, we can't ever get this perfect for anyone, so there's always a tiny bit of tidying up and a tiny bit of editing to do after you've copied it out and pasted it into your document. So that's the review wizard. It's very handy. We find we can design a protocol for a review in 1 or 2 hours now by getting together and working together and just going through and answering all of these questions. So there was one thing I forgot to mention about project management. If I go back to here, project settings, you can invite people to your reviews. So if you send an invite to someone, it will ask them to, if they don't have an account, it will ask them to create an account and sign up. If they've got an account, it will just allow them to come in and be a part of the review. And then they can see all the files that you've uploaded. They can see the review wizard that you've done. They can also do any of the screening using the screening tools. So basically, they have pretty much exactly the same access and usability of all of the tools and the projects that the person who creates it. To invite someone, you just invite via email. You can type it in. So Matt's now been invited. When he accepts, he'll switch from invited to member. As you work through, though, and as you kind of work with more and more people on the review, it creates a list of all the people you've worked with previously. So you can also just tick people off and invite them that way. So for instance, if I want to invite Tian to the project, I can just tick her name and send an invite. So that list will get built up over time as you work with more and more people. So that's it for file management, inviting people, kind of most of the project management side, designing your protocol. So I'm going to talk through some of the search tools we have now. So designing a search is very important, of course, when you do a review. Generally, hopefully you've got someone who knows a bit about searching on your review as an author who will do it, which I always highly recommend. So these tools will help that person. If you don't have someone who knows about searching, I recommend at least going and getting some advice. But if not, well, these tools can still help. So when you design a search these days, it's very common before you kind of getting the search put together properly to have a look at a couple of articles that are relevant to your topic. So normally the content expert on the review will say, hey, here's 2 or 3 articles that I'm aware of that might help you design your search because these are the types of articles we want to find. You then look through those articles and you might find commonly appearing words that appear in those articles. Have a look at the mesh term list as well, and just manually look at them and pull out the words you think should be used. At least that's how I used to do it. I don't anymore. So I'm going to upload some pre-identified, they're called seed studies, and I'll just let the word freak tool do it for me. So here are 10 references. These 10 references are, pre-identified relevant references for my review. If I click on them, that'll import and it will process them. So it will look through and it will analyze the title, the abstract, and the keywords list or the subject terms lists. Generally, the mesh term lists is where it pulls from. So unique is the number of studies that you uploaded, how many, so let me start again. It's the number of studies you uploaded that this word appears in. So if you uploaded 10, I uploaded 10 articles, the word acne appears in all 10. It appears in the title 10 times, it appears in the abstract 48 times, and it appears in the keywords list 12 times. So in total, I get 70 points. So the word acne is a pretty good word, I guess, that you should probably put in your search. So the next word, scoring-wise, is the word treatment. So here, it's a very small, but I can think key example of how you still need to know what you're doing, and the tool is not going to help because you can't just go through the list of words and put every high performer or high count word into your search because the word treatment is completely pointless. Pretty much every single paper in PubMed has treatment in it. So treatment is a word you would skip and not put in your search generally. So you just go down the list. So you might use the word acne, blue light is something you might use. Again, patience, there's no point putting patience into a search. It's not going to help limit your search in any way, shape, or form. But LED might be good, phototherapy, lesions. So you just go down, skip the words that you don't want, copy and paste the words you do like, start to structure your search by combining them together. And then when you get to the end, I guess you're done. And that will help you structure a reasonable search to get going. So the next tool we have is called Meshmate. So Meshmate's a tool that can be helpful for maybe people who don't know a lot about searching to try to identify some mesh terms that can help them. If you do know lots about searching and already know how to find mesh terms, it's probably not that optimal for you. But if you don't know anything about it, you can type in a word, hit search, and this will go off and it will, in theory, API into PubMed. So it just runs a search in PubMed's mesh database for you, and it will identify a mesh term that suits your needs. So you can click on it, add it down here. You can copy it. I think if I paste it here, the good thing is it will copy it in the structured way that PubMed knows to run it as a mesh term search. You can get rid of it by hitting the red cross or add it back in. I'll just clear that. So it's just a good way to start looking for and trying to find a few mesh terms. If you're already using the mesh database or something else, which is this mesh database, and you're already good at finding mesh terms, so say it's probably not really going to help you. It is more for people who are newer to searching and maybe are not quite as comfortable going off and finding mesh terms for themselves. So the next term we have tool, is the Search Refiner. So the Search Refiner tool is a tool you use once you kind of feel like you've got a pretty good search. and your search is performing pretty well, and it's finding a lot of the studies that you want to find for your review, then you use Search Refiner to refine that search and to kind of try to reduce the amount of irrelevant studies it's finding. So basically, improve the precision of the search, or the specificity, I think, of the search, and just reduce the number of irrelevant studies being found. I think I've got an example here. So to begin with, you need a PubMed search. So it only works with PubMed because it APIs into PubMed. So you put your search query up the top. Then you need a list of PubMed IDs. So these are the PubMed IDs of 10 relevant studies that I think this search should find. You put them in there. And you hit visualize. So this will send the query off to PubMed and hopefully pull back the results. And it has a nice graphical interface, which kind of I still find quite helpful, as it structures your search out and it shows you exactly how it's working. Important numbers to look at are these ones up the top right corner. So at the moment, this search finds 14,000 total citations, which is a lot to have to screen. So then 10 relevant citations to find. That is how many seed PubMed IDs, or how many relevant articles do I think the search needs to find. So basically it's the same as this number here. So I uploaded 10 relevant articles for it to find. The next one is how many of them is it finding? It's finding all 10. So this search is really good in terms of recall, e.g. how many relevant studies it's finding. It's terrible in terms of precision, which is the number of irrelevant studies it's finding. So the idea is to look at your search in here, try to find ways to improve it by removing words. I know it goes against searchers' best judgments to remove things from a search, remove words they've already put in, but it can really help if you can find some words to remove. So the way it works is the number outside the brackets here. So I'm going to look at whiteheads. So the number outside the bracket is 174. That is how many records is the word whiteheads finding in PubMed, just by itself. 0, so that's number in brackets. That's how many relevant studies, how many of these 10 relevant studies is the word whiteheads finding? And it's finding 0 of them. Same with blackheads. Blackheads finds 56 studies in PubMed, none of our relevant studies. So you find words like this, which look like you can take them out without impacting the recall of your search. So if I take out blackheads, whiteheads, and pimples, hit visualize again, it will rerun the search without those words and tell me how it performs. So those words are now gone. My search looks a bit tidier, but as you can see, it's made 0 impact on the number of total citations retrieved and the amount of screening I've got to do. As a bit of a hint or a clue, the bigger a box and the thicker the line, the more records it's pulling in from PubMed, and the more impact it will have if you take it out of your search. So the word lesions finds 421,027 records in PubMed, so that's a lot. And although it finds 5, so the number in the brackets, it finds 5 of our relevant studies. Some of these other words are also finding them, so this might be a word that we can take out. And I use this search a lot, so I have a pretty good idea that it's probably going to be very helpful to take out lesion. So I've taken out lesion. We've instantly dropped from 14,000 to 2,000 to almost 3,000, and we're still finding all of our relevant citations. So that's the idea, is to go through and look around. I would now leave that acne bit or the population bit alone, and then I would focus on the intervention bit. So I've done this quite a bit, so I might just try to take out a lot and see what happens. So again, we've just lost almost 2,000 studies that we no longer have to screen, still finding all our relevant citations. So that's Search Refiner. That's the idea. Put in a search you're kind of happy with at the moment. See if you can refine your search while still finding all of your relevant citations to improve it and reduce the screening workload. So I'll move on to the Polyglot next. So the Polyglot is a tool just to help you translate your PubMed or your Ovid search into other databases. So I'm going to try to translate it into the Cochrane library. Oh, I think I've got a search here. Yep. So I'm going to grab this PubMed search. I'm going to come over to Polyglot tool. I'll paste it in. And then every database we support translations into is down here. So you can put it into Ovid Medline if you're really keen. Cochrane library we have, Embase via Elsevier and Ovid, Cinal. So all the big databases. We've also got Lilacs is in there now. That's recent. Really, I won't go through them all, but basically all the databases that we support are in this list. You find the one you want, you can copy it to the clipboard using that button, or you can just highlight and Control C. So to run these sorts of searches in the Cochrane library, you need to go to Advanced Search and then switch to the Search Manager, because only the Search Manager understands field tagging. So if I paste that search in there and hit continue, my Cochrane search is now run and done and dusted. Then I'd export these, whatever, ready for deduplicating and screening. So it works for all these databases. The one thing it doesn't do though, and I won't go into it today, but it does not translate the actual term itself, the mesh terms itself, to entry terms or Cinal subject headings or other subject terms. So you still need to find, for instance, Embase, you still need to go and look and see if acne vulgaris is the appropriate entry term to use, which it is in this case, but you still need to go look up the M3 database and make sure that this is the appropriate term. Same with PsycInfo, same with Cinal. So you still need to manually check each subject term. That's the only thing it won't translate. Primarily, not primarily, that's because the publishers who own the databases refuse to let us use their lookup trees to do it for you. So that's the Polyglot done. So once you've run all of your searches, generally when you run your searches all across multiple databases, there'll be some overlap in the records that you find. In other words, there'll be duplicates, duplicate records that you need to remove. You can do that using the deduplicator. So the deduplicator has two algorithms. If you click on the question mark, it will tell you which each algorithm's for. It has a focused algorithm and a relaxed algorithm. So I guess this is named after how much work you really want to do. If you just want to relax time, use the relaxed one. So the relaxed algorithm means that it's not going to make any mistakes. It's not going to remove any unique studies, but it's going to miss some duplicates. So it won't remove, any of the relevant stuff you need, but it will miss a few duplicates, and a few duplicates will be left afterwards. If you want, you can use the focused algorithm. So the focused algorithm will detect pretty much all the duplicates in your set that you upload, but it will make a few mistakes and you will need to do a bit of manual reviewing of the results. So it just depends which one you want to use. Generally, we suggest if you've got under 2,000, use the focused algorithm. If you have more than 2,000, use the relaxed algorithm. So I'm going to put some records in here. I got 1,500 here. Hopefully these are full of duplicates. And I'll hit deduplicate. So this will import them in and deduplicate them. It then sorts them into groups around the likelihood that the algorithm thinks they're duplicates. So Extremely likely, I think, means it gets 99%, 99, percent or higher likelihood that it's a duplicate. So if you've never used these tools before, any tool, by the way, not just ours, I always suggest trying to have a look and make sure it's actually working properly. I myself have used this a lot. I never look through these extremely likely duplicates because I've never seen a mistake in that set. Again, highly likely, I think these are the 85% to 99% chance it's a duplicate. So again, I never spend any time looking through these because I've never seen it make a mistake in that pool. But the likely duplicates pool here, especially if you use focused, there are going to probably be a few mistakes. And here is where you'll need to just do a bit of manual checking and make sure that there's nothing being removed that shouldn't. So for instance, this one, the top one is the trial registry record for the study, while the 3 down here are the duplicates. So this one here is not a duplicate of these 3. So I just hit the not dupe button and it just takes it out of that set. And then you just go down the list. So this one here, I think looks like it's the same thing published in 2 different journals. So these 2 are duplicates, these 4 are duplicates of each other. So we need to split this set up. To do that, hit split group. And then I go, okay, this is a duplicate and this is a duplicate of each other. And then hit okay. That then splits them into 2 appropriate duplicate groups. And I'll keep going, and I think that's about it. The neat thing about the tool is that it puts the lowest ranked ones in terms of duplicate likelihood at the very top. This means the mistakes are more likely, if there are mistakes, they're more likely to happen at the top of the sets. So in other words, there's more likely to be a mistake here than number 77. So generally, after I haven't seen a mistake for a while, I assume it's got the rest correct. But normally I would go a bit slower than that. But you go through, and when you're done, and then you can go file. You can save your progress if you don't want to finish it all. I might just save my tool data. And then you just save your results. So you can export whatever you want. We highlight green, the one we think you should export, which is the set with all the duplicates removed. So you export these 984, give it a name, save it. Then if I go back to my project files lists, it just gets saved in here, ready to be utilized in the next set of tools. So the next tool is the Screenatron tool. So Screenatron is a tool to help you screen. I'll just put a couple in. So it's got some neat things in it that we like. So it's got hotkeys to enable you to press a button on your keyboard to assign to groups. It's got custom groups, so you can add new groups. It's got a progress bar to help. It's got include, exclude keywords. So if I put acne in and I put blue light, or I just put blue, it will highlight in green all of the include keywords. Maybe we don't want drugs. So if I put in drug as an exclude, it will highlight red any of the exclude words that you put in. It's got a really neat search function as well. So you can change where it searches throughout your records. So generally, I like to just search in the title for maybe blue, and you can see here all of the records which have got blue in the title. So in theory, hopefully that's blue light, will just get found. So 84 out of the 500 have blue. These are the ones which are more likely to be includable. So I actually like to work through the harder or the more likely includes first. So to assign to a group, you can press spacebar, and that will assign to the exclude group. You can also press the 1 button as well to assign to the include. You can use left arrow or the 2 button. The other great thing is it's got multi-select. So if these were all irrelevant, I could actually select them all, hit space, and I'll put them all in the exclude group for me. If you don't like the hotkeys we've set up for you, you can press the edit button, which is looks like a crayon, I guess. You can change the name. You might say yes instead. And you can add a Y, for instance, for yes. And you can even change the colors and do all sorts of cool things. Same with the exclude group. You can change it to no and change the hotkeys. New group, quite often you might want to put in I think we call it interesting normally, where I am. So So these are interesting articles which maybe you don't want to put into your review. They're not includable, but maybe you might want to hang on to them, save them to look at them and use them in discussion section, or even help with your background and references. So that's the interesting group. You can create lots of groups. I suggest not going over 4 or 5. So that's Screenatron. When you're done, you can save progress as you're going, or you can just save your results. I won't save them, but generally we suggest just saving the yes group, so the includes. So it's a pretty standard screening tool, not really a lot different from most of the others, although we have got some speed improvements, I guess. So I'll just save it. So it's important to hit the save button occasionally as you're going. The tools auto-save after 15 minutes, though, as well. So every now and then, as you're working through, it'll auto-save. But I think it's set to a 15-minute schedule to not annoy people too much. So the next tool is our Gen AI screening tool. So this is still in beta mode, by the way. So we're still doing a little bit of testing around how well it performs. We'll be doing some of that tomorrow, I think. But the idea is you upload some references, you give it your PICO criteria, you then let it screen, and you see how it goes, which is what I'll do now. So I'll put in these ones. So this is blue light to screen, I think 557. So I can do 10,000. I'm not going to do 10,000 because it's a lot to be watching. Then you hit continue. My criteria, this one I think is blue light to treat acne. So I'll put in people with acne. My intervention is, I might use phototherapy actually. And it helps if you write a little bit more narratively as well. So rather than just putting in acne or acne vulgaris, if you put in people with acne, it will tend to perform. The Gen AI performs a bit better. So in fact, I think it's better if you write patients treated with, for instance, will do a bit better than just typing in phototherapy. I'll leave the comparator outcomes alone, and I only want randomized trials. And hit continue. Although we have some exclusion boxes here for exclusion criteria, we're finding that it confuses the Gen AI large language model a little bit. So we're going to remove this when we roll out the next version of the Mecha Screener, because we find it can be a bit dangerous to remove stuff. So I highly suggest not using exclusion criteria with the automatic screening. As I say, in a next iteration, you won't be able to because we'll have removed those boxes. Hit continue and hit finish. So it's done. What it'll do is it will tell you how many it auto excludes. So it's automatically excluded 255. And then in the two screen pool, all the ones where it doesn't know for sure and says to screen. So anything that's missing an abstract, we can't process. So that's automatically goes to the to screen pool. We also give it a score, likelihood score of between 1 and 5. At the moment, we only exclude ones. So you can see here, this one got a 5, this got a 2. So 2 plus gets put into the to screen pool. We're doing that because we're being extremely cautious with this tool. So we're hoping over time to refine it a little bit so that 1s and 2s can be put into the excludes, which will reduce the amount of screening. But this kind of number of 300 to 255 is the type of numbers we're seeing. So generally, it safely removes about 50% of the results you upload. It's got a 98.7% sensitivity. In other words, I think it finds pretty much everything and very rarely makes a mistake. We are looking at making that 98.7 into 99.99. And it was actually only one really difficult review, which was causing it to drop out. So for the most part, most reviews, 4 out of 5 reviews, I think got 100%. There was one review where it missed one. So it is performs really well at the moment. Hopefully we'll get it performing slightly better. We are also going to run and publish an evaluation study of it and how it performs and time saving in August. We'll be starting and hopefully publish, I guess, early next year. So when you're done, you can save, etc., etc. So I'll close that off, move to the next tool. So Disputatron, so normally 2 people screen, or well, 2 people should always screen. Then you've got to work out your disputes, which is where you disagree. And I am looking at the time now. We are closer to the end than you might think, though. So you can put in the numbers. I might just put in myself. I think Mark is someone I screen with a lot. So if you put in the 2 sets of screening records, so that's mine, and say this was Mark's, hit submit. It will then compare those 2 records and it will give you article agreement rates, give you some of the stats. And you can see, oh, so then the idea is you go through this list and you go, all right, Mark included this one. You talk together whether it should be included or excluded. And you go include, and then you might exclude a few and then go, okay, this one should be included. And this one. And then you hit save and it will save all of your included articles. Then in this case, probably ready for full text screening. So that's Disputatron. It's just a way to work through disputes with each other. Next tool is SpiderSite. So SpiderSite is a tool that will automatically do the backwards forward citation searching for you. So that is when you finish screening, normally your search results, you might have, say, 10 records that you want to include in your paper. Generally, you do a backwards forward citation search on them to see if your search missed anything and to see if you can identify some more relevant articles. So here I'll upload my 10. This imports it and runs it in the lens.org database. So we partner with the Lens. It's a giant database of like 250 million cross-reference citations or something. So very likely it finds everything. So you can see here it's found 9 of them. It hasn't found one. Output, this is the backward citation searching. So this is the reference lists, 184. These are everyone who's cited those articles as well. Again, it's pretty simple. Upload your references, export either both, one, the other, whatever you like. Again, I won't save it so I don't clog up my demo workshop. TerraFarmer is next. So TerraFarmer is a tool that I like using to help me find additional seed studies. So you can upload studies, or you can actually just copy and paste PubMed IDs. So this goes through and looks through the PubMed similar articles feature list, and it finds similar articles in a bulk. So I'll just put in my file, but you need PubMed IDs to do this. Again, it only works with PubMed IDs, so you can copy and paste them. I'm just going to upload them from my file. It found them all, and then I'm going to find related. So this will API into PubMed and pull out the 1,244 similar articles that PubMed thinks is similar, and it ranks them by relevance. I don't look through 1,244, but I will look through these top 50 normally and just see what's in there and see if there's additional stuff that might be helpful to help me generally construct a search, but you can also use it to see if you've missed any articles. But as I say, it's probably only worth going through the top 50 and having a look at them. All right, so that's kind of searching, finding studies, screening studies. Next is stats. So Calculon, and let me think, 3 tools left to go through. I know it's 7:57, so we'll probably go to about 8:03 a.m. In case you're wondering, and it's slightly panicked by the number of tools left, thinking it might go for another half hour. We'll probably be finished at about 3 minutes past 8. So Calculon is a tool to help get some stats. If you've got a couple of stats, it will help produce the rest of the stats for you. There is a nice help thing here, and we have help options for everything. So you can click that and it will tell you, what it does and how to use it. But just close it. So I think if, for instance, you've got a mean of 4 in group 1 and a mean of 5 in group 2, both of them, n is the number of people. If they both had 20 people, and for instance, the study only gave you a p-value of 0.15, if you put those numbers you do have in, it will then generate the rest of the numbers for you all in one nice little spot. So it gives you your confidence intervals, standard error, mean difference, and total numbers. So it's just a neat way of kind of synthesizing and converting and getting numbers that you might be missing. I'm not a big stats person, so I'm not entirely sure how useful that is, but apparently, like the stats guy I know and work with, he built it, he helped us build it. He says it's really useful just for trying to do stats. The second last tool I'll look at is meta pairwise. So we have, we work very nicely or kindly. The University of Leicester, Glasgow have some meta-analysis tools that we collaborate with them on. So they are meta pairwise. This does simple meta-analysis or pairwise meta-analysis, which is the one I'll demo. Meta Insight does network meta-analysis, which I won't demo. Meta DTA does diagnostic test accuracy meta-analysis, which again, I won't demo, but they work in a similar sort of way. So you go to data, and here you need to upload your data. The data needs to be in a specific format. So in this case, this is the long version. So study, and then T is treatment arm or placebo or comparator arm. R is the number of events, N is the number of people. So it needs to be structured like that. There's some great advice here on how to do it. And they also give you some templates to download and just fill in, which is how I did it. So you just upload your data. Go to the calculator and hit run frequentist. It does have Bayesian analysis too, but I'm just going to do the frequentist meta-analysis. This will just run and do the meta-analysis for you. It also gives you a Larbe plot. You can see here that that's the meta-analysis now completed. It's also got a neat thing, which apparently is very exciting for stats people, that it puts the fixed effects and the random effects model both on the same graph for you, which apparently is very exciting. So that's the meta-analysis done. As I say, Meta Insight, similar sort of thing, upload an Excel spreadsheet of data for a network meta-analysis. There's good instructions and videos, and meta DTA, again, just upload an Excel spreadsheet of diagnostic test accuracy data, and that will do your diagnostic test accuracy data meta-analysis. So the neat thing now about this, though, is if I hit download results JSON file, this will say this JSON file. So this is just these numbers and this forest plot saved now in a file that our tool can read. So if I come over to the replicant tool, and I upload that JSON file, this is the same one. If I upload that, that will then look through, process the data in that JSON file. So the meta, all those numbers and all that data in that forest plot, it will pull those numbers out, it will process it, and it will actually start to write. Well, it won't start to, it will then write the results section of the meta-analysis for you. So it pulls out all of the numbers. So for instance, 9 studies. So it knew there were 9 studies, counts all the participants for you. So that's 3,245. And then how many in the reference group, how many in the intervention group. And it gives you some heterogeneity numbers too. So 31.8% suggests a low level of heterogeneity. So it'll just take data from that forest plot and it will just write it for you, allowing you to copy and paste it directly into your results section. Lots of good things about that. Primarily, the best thing is that it just removes the transcription errors that are so common when you try to copy and paste from an Excel spreadsheet into a Word document. So it's quite useful. Again, we've written these sentences, so you can hit regenerate, and it will just regenerate it a little bit till you get your one that you want. And that's it for all the tools. We have help files, a lot of help files for lots of different things. Contact us. Please contact us if there's problems or ideas or other things. We get a lot of people, well, a small number of very helpful users contact us and point out either small bugs or usability features that would help, which we really like getting. Profile. So here the profile will tell you how many credits you've got. 1 credit equals screening 1 article in the Mecha Screener tool. So at the moment, I've still got 10,000 credits, so I can screen 10,000 articles. This will go down as you screen. If you want to cite us, there's a Cite Us page. And log out. And very last, it will tell you when it was last saved. So this is auto saves 7:21 a.m. And that's it for all of the tools and everything. Oh, sorry, I forgot one last thing. If I come back to the review wizard, I forgot that the replicant tool will actually pull all of that. So that replicant tool, which automatically wrote the results section from the meta-analysis or the forest plot, it actually adds it in directly into your review wizard for you. So now when I go method section and generate output, it's actually got those results automatically put in. So now I can copy this and I'm starting to get my manuscript put together. Sorry, and that's it. So done for everything TERA wise. So Julia's asked an excellent question, which is probably what I think is the best use of Mecha Screener actually, is can you send the backwards forward citation results through the screening tool Mecha Screener? Yes. Because the backwards forward citation searching tends to be full of a lot of irrelevant stuff. So I would highly recommend using Mecha Screener for the backwards forward citation search for sure. So Kathleen's asked, what are the differences between the free version and the subscription version? I'll just share screen for a second and show you. So if I go to my projects now, you can see I've got whatever that is, 10 projects. Up here, I've still got a create new project button. That's because I'm subscribed. If you're using the free version, after you create your first project, this create button disappears and you can't create a new project unless you delete your old project. That's one difference. The other difference, and these are the only 2 differences, if I come down to my profile, you see I've got 10,000 credits to screen, so I can screen 10,000 articles in Mecha Screener, and I get my credits back much quicker, 10 credits every 45 minutes. If you're not subscribed and you're using the free version, you get 1,000 credits. So you can screen 1,000 articles in Mecha Screener, and you charge 1 credit every 45 minutes. So base that equates to over the month. If you get down to 0 credits, by the end of a month, it'll go back up to either 10,000 or 1,000. So they are the only two differences. You can create multiple projects and you get 10,000 credits instead of 1,000. Institutional annual or institutional subscriptions. This is something we do get asked about, and we know we need to incorporate it, and it's on our list. We have a big patch coming very soon, quite a massive patch actually, to fix up some of the usability functionality around stuff. Once we've rolled that out, we'll start looking at implementing institutional subscriptions. But we are going to update the website so that people can contact us for a quote. So yes, we do have institutional subscriptions available. So contact us if you want one. It's basically at the moment, I don't want to say ad hoc, we have a structured formula for it, but generally it's based upon the number of people you're probably going to have using it. So, and I think it's about a 20% discount. So in other words, if you have 100 potential users or 100 users, that you think will probably use it, what was that normally? That's $10,000, I think, for each of them to sign up individually for a year. You probably get it for $8,000 or something. So we do have institutional subscriptions, and it's about a 20% discount for the institution to sign up. At least that's our current plan. But at the moment, you do need to email us. In the future, we will implement something where you can probably sign up free and it'll go IP regulation or IP detection or email, probably more likely email detection. So, a user from, I don't know, Melbourne University, if Melbourne University had a subscription, would sign up with their Melbourne University email account and they wouldn't even notice. They would just automatically subscribe. At the moment, it's a bit clunkier than that, and there's a tiny bit of manual processing, but that's where we're heading for. So I guess the shorter answer is yes, there are, and we can provide them. Email us and we'll figure it out. And I agree. There's a lot more tools now these days. I'm struggling to keep track of them all. Oh, thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Cecily, for coming and for asking questions. Always good to see you and hang out for a bit. All right, I think then I'm gonna head off, unless there's any more questions, head off and have my breakfast and start to get ready to go into the office. And cool. Yeah, you should try it out. Scoping reviews does make scoping reviews handy. I use it myself for real reviews. I find this it's so helpful. So yeah. All right, I've got a bowl of cereal with my name on it. So thank you all, and I will hopefully see you around the TERA platform somewhere. All right, bye.